Who hasn't had fresh baked bread out of the oven? Fresh baked bread, that first sliced, still warm and coated with real butter. Oh man, it conjures up all kinds of memories for me when I was a kid. Even the smell of fresh bread baking in the oven gets one's hunger cravings into another dimension. Now, I'm Rick Michelle, and this is You Can Cook. Roll that intro. Okay, let's bring you all back from your hypnotic state and back to reality here in my kitchen. Yeah, we all love those slices of perfectly baked French baguettes, artisan breads like sourdough loaves and just freshly home-baked loaves. Now, there's quite a bit of work that goes into all those kinds of breads. There's kneading, there's proofing, and in the case of sourdough, you got to feed your mother every few days, lots and lots of rest time, shaping, resting, and more. But still, in my opinion, it is all so worth it when it comes to fresh bread. Today, I'm going to show you how I make my favorite flatbread, the chapati. Now, chapatis are made from wheat flour, and sometimes wheat flour and plain flour, but I detest wheat flour. It's something, if it's got wheat flour in it, I won't touch it. Now, it's a thing with me, it's personal, and it goes back when I was a youngster. And my comment always was back then, it tastes like sawdust. Now, I know, how would anyone know what sawdust tastes like? Well, that's what it tasted like. And sure enough, years later, 2 or 3 of the biggest bread makers in the U.S. were caught using sawdust rather than the whole wheat berry like they're supposed to use. To this day, I won't have it in my pantry. Now, chapatis are a flat bread. There's lots of different kinds of flat breads. This is one of my favorites, probably because it's one of the easiest to make. And it's the simplest ingredients. And although, as I told you before, there's no wheat flour in here, so this is all plain white flour. And I've got some salt, I've got a bit of oil, I've got some water, and I've got some yogurt. I usually put yogurt in mine, about ½ a cup. Today I've got, because it was in the fridge, coconut yogurt. Now, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try this. So I put in maybe a teaspoon of salt. If you want your breads to taste nice, you have to use salt. Use about, I'd say, a tablespoon of oil. And I'm going to put in roughly ½ a cup of yogurt. And this is coconut yogurt. It's not very sweet, but it smells very coconutty. So this might turn out really, really nice. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to put a little bit more of that in there just because it smells so nice. We'll see what it tastes like after we get this made up. Now, I'm not one that measures things up. So I just start by adding a little bit of water. The worst case scenario is if you put too much water in your flour, well, you just put a little bit more flour in there. I normally use a bigger bowl. I just thought I'd use this clear bowl just so you can probably see more of what's going on here. Now, I'm also very handy with my hands when it comes to building stuff. This is like mixing cement. You're going good, you need lots of water, and then it comes to a point where the tiniest little bit of water makes the biggest change. And doing flour is exactly the same. Some say to be really gentle. I personally haven't seen any difference in the dough. Just get it to a nice consistency where you can start working with it. Start bringing it all together. It looks very dry and crumbly, but like I told you about when working with cement, this is all going to come together. And if it doesn't, just sprinkle some water on there. You probably have to knead it for at least 5 minutes. With most doughs, the longer you knead it, the better the dough gets. But I'd say 5 minutes, probably sufficient. Now, if you look at my dough, that's probably perfect. It's sticky. You can see it's kind of sticky, but it lets go. And that's when it's perfect. So let's just shape that up, put it back in my bowl. Maybe just a touch of flour in there so it doesn't stick. And I've got a slightly dampened tea towel. And we're just going to let that sit for the next 5, maybe 15 minutes. It doesn't matter how long you let it sit for. I've let it sit for a couple of hours sometimes. The best way that I find to divvy up dough so that it's sort of even is to use a knife or a cutter, dough cutter. When you just pick things off, it doesn't really matter, but without weighing it, you're not going to get them all the same size. So this is how I do it. Just roll it into a little log. Nothing new there. Cut it in half. It's easy to pick kind of a half. Then you just pick everything else in halves. They're going to be somewhat different sizes. That doesn't bother me. I make little tiny little balls. So you see, they don't take very long. I'm making them one less than a minute. Okay, so that only took maybe 5 or 6 minutes. I've got a cast iron skillet. You need something that's going to take high heat because no oil is going to go on this. We're going to dry fry these. Let's get on over to the stove and I'll show you how these puff up. And there's a little thing you have to know. You want your pan really hot. You can probably see the smoke coming out of that. It's hard to get these burned because you're there watching them all the time. Put your chapati in there. What you're looking for here is you check it every now and again for being really nice and brown on the bottom. Okay, you want it even those little burnt spots is okay, and that's when you're going to flip it over. So if you're not used to it, you just check it by just having a little check, not even close. And the real trick to chapatis is you got to turn it 3 times, not just twice. So we're going to get this brown on this side. We're going to turn it over till it starts getting little black spots like that one right there. And when you turn it over the 3rd time, it should separate in the middle and puff up into looks like a pillow. See how it's got the little brown spots over it? So we turn it over. I have to try this while it's hot. Oh. Oh. I can taste the coconut, and it's exceptionally nice. It's the first time I've cooked chapatis, though, that haven't quite bubbled up exactly like a big pillow. But they're very nice, and I would use that coconut oil. I would use that coconut yogurt again. That is really nice. That's more like it. The whole thing is supposed to bubble up like a pillow, just like that. And then you just put some butter, melted butter or ghee. I've got ghee. Keeps them moist, keep them in the oven. So all up, it doesn't take very long to make some really nice flatbread. And every time I make a curry, if we don't have this, it'll be parathas, but they're a little bit more work. But these are so nice, and I'm really impressed with the flavor that coconut yogurt put in there. Oh, it is so nice. It's still warm, just straight out of the oven. Absolutely gorgeous, super fresh. Give that a go. I think you'll be really impressed. I'm Rick Michelle. This is You Can Cook. If you like what you see and you want to see more of this sort of stuff that I do at home in my kitchen, right here where my face is, click on that and subscribe to my page. And we will see you next time.